No one came. Not when the colonies burned. Not when the oceans boiled on Mars. Not when Earth sent 1,000 desperate messages into the dark. The galaxy watched, and stayed silent. So humanity stopped asking for help. And that was the day everything changed. Dr. Ilara Mendez stood inside the Horizon Command Center beneath the Andes Mountains. The massive curved screens around her showed the same terrifying image. Thousands of alien warships surrounding Earth like a metal storm. The Dominion fleet. They had ruled the spiral arm for 12,000 years. Advanced. Cold. Efficient. They did not conquer worlds. They erased them. 23 human colonies were already gone. No survivors. No negotiations. Just silence after fire. General Arjun Rao entered the command chamber without speaking. His uniform was torn at the shoulder, his face pale from too many sleepless nights. "They've completed the orbital grid," he said quietly. Ilara nodded. That meant no one was leaving Earth. The Dominion ships formed a perfect sphere around the planet. Every escape vector blocked. Every satellite destroyed. Human space defense lasted exactly 11 minutes. 11. Earth had prayed for allies. There were hundreds of advanced civilizations beyond human space. Humanity had traded with some of them. Helped others. Even saved a few from extinction-level plagues. But when the Dominion declared humanity an unstable expansion variable, none of them responded. No fleets arrived. No messages of support. Nothing. Humanity was alone. On the main screen, a transmission signal blinked. Incoming message from the Dominion High Executor. Ilara swallowed. Put it through. The alien appeared as a towering silver figure, its body smooth like liquid metal. Its voice echoed in layered harmonics. Species. Human. Your growth destabilizes regional equilibrium. Population reduction will commence in 24 of your hours. Resistance is statistically meaningless. General Rao stepped forward. What if we surrender? The alien paused. Surrender does not correct your genetic volatility. Your species adapts too quickly. You innovate under pressure. You are unpredictable. Therefore, you are inefficient to preserve. The transmission ended. No threats. No anger. Just cold calculation. In cities across Earth, people gathered in streets. Some prayed. Some held their children. Some stared at the sky in disbelief. Inside Horizon Command, Ilara felt something break inside her. "They're afraid of us," she whispered. Rao frowned. "Afraid? They have 10,000 ships." "Yes," she said slowly. "But they mentioned adaptability, innovation, unpredictability." She turned to the secure console. "Activate Archive Black." The room froze. Even the air felt heavy. General Rao's voice dropped. "That program was sealed 70 years ago." "And for 70 years, Ilara replied, we hoped we would never need it." Deep beneath Earth's crust, in hidden facilities no satellite could detect, something had been waiting. Not weapons. Not bombs. Humans. But not ordinary ones. When humanity first discovered alien civilizations, world governments secretly created Project Black Archive. The goal was simple. If the galaxy ever decided humanity was too dangerous, humanity would prove them right. The project gathered the most creative minds, the most adaptable thinkers, the most psychologically resilient individuals. Scientists, engineers, strategists, hackers, survival experts, genetic researchers. Instead of building soldiers, they built problem solvers. Children were raised in simulation worlds where impossible alien scenarios attacked them daily. They learned to reverse engineer unknown technologies, to predict enemy logic, to design tools from scraps. They were not trained to follow orders. They were trained to win. At any cost. General Rao stared at Ilara. "If we release them, we lose control." Ilara met his eyes. "We never had control." She pressed her hand onto the biometric scanner. Authorization. Mendez. Ilara. Initiate global release. Across the planet, in deep underground vaults, sealed doors began to open. In a facility beneath Antarctica, a young woman named Lyra Cade opened her eyes as lights flickered on for the first time in years. In a mountain bunker in Nepal, a tall engineer called Thomas Iqbal looked up from a dismantled fusion core and smiled slightly. In the Sahara, inside a buried research city, twins named Soren and Mila Vance stopped mid-conversation as alarms chimed. All around Earth, 50,000 minds received the same message. Earth is under extinction-level attack. Archive Black is active. Lyra stepped into the central chamber of her facility. Around her, others moved calmly. No panic. No fear. Only focus. A holographic display showed the Dominion fleet. 10,000 ships. Overwhelming power. Lyra tilted her head. They rely on symmetry, she said quietly. Thomas's face appeared on the shared network screen. Predictable formation patterns. Standardized shield harmonics. Soren added, they assume we will attack directly. Mila finished the thought. So we won't. Within minutes, Archive Black minds connected into a global quantum network they had secretly built over decades. They did not ask permission from governments. They did not request military command. They began solving. Dominion ships used gravitic anchors to stabilize their orbital grid. Lyra studied the frequency patterns. If we can create resonance interference inside their anchor fields. Thomas grinned. We don't need bigger weapons. We need better math. In Horizon Command, alarms suddenly shifted tone. General RAO looked at the tactical display. What is that? Ilara's eyes widened. Human satellites, long thought destroyed, were rebooting. Hidden microrelays activated inside abandoned mining stations. Old weather arrays adjusted orbit. Civilian communication towers aligned toward space. All of it coordinated by minds the Dominion did not know existed. On the Dominion flagship, sensors flickered. An alien officer spoke sharply. Unknown energy fluctuations detected. The High Executor remained calm. Irrelevant. Then the first Dominion ship drifted slightly out of position. Just a few meters. But enough to disrupt the perfect grid. Another ship adjusted to compensate. Then another. Tiny mathematical errors began cascading through the fleet. Back on Earth, Lyra smiled for the first time. Push Phase 2. Across the planet, hidden quantum processors fed altered gravitational equations into the Dominion's own monitoring frequencies. The aliens trusted their sensors. Humans rewrote them. Suddenly, two Dominion cruisers collided. Not violently, but enough. Shockwaves rippled through their formation. Confusion spread. For the first time since entering orbit, the Dominion fleet hesitated. Inside Horizon Command, stunned silence filled the room. General Aria whispered, "What did we just do?" Ilara exhaled slowly. "We reminded them why they were afraid." Above Earth, the perfect alien grid fractured. Not from brute force, but from human creativity. And this was only the beginning. Because the Dominion had prepared for war. They had not prepared for imagination. The Dominion did not panic. They recalculated. Across their vast fleet, new formations formed within seconds. Damaged ships repositioned. Shield harmonics shifted. Their commanders adjusted gravitational stabilizers and restored partial control. They had faced rebellions before. They had crushed empires older than humanity. But something about this resistance felt different. It was not loud. It was not desperate. It was intelligent. On the Dominion flagship, the High Executor studied the tactical projections. Several hundred minor collisions. Thousands of navigational discrepancies. Sensor ghosting across multiple vectors. Source? It asked calmly. Unknown, replied a subordinate. Human military capability insufficient to generate this level of systemic interference. The High Executor paused. Then this is not their military. Deep beneath Antarctica, Lyra Cade leaned over a holographic projection of Earth's orbit. Around her, dozens of archive black members worked in silence. Thomas transmitted new calculations from the Sahara facility. They're compensating with adaptive predictive modeling, he said. Their AI is filtering out our resonance noise. Lyra nodded. Then we escalate. She turned to Soren and Mila on the shared quantum link. Phase 3. Release the ghost layer. For decades, humanity had built something strange into the fabric of their technology. Tiny lines of code. Hidden protocols. Harmless, invisible upgrades. Every trading partner. Every shared algorithm. Every diplomatic exchange with alien civilizations. Human software had quietly spread. Not viruses. Seeds. And now, Archive Black activated them. Across Dominion subspace relays, dormant human mathematical fragments began rewriting translation matrices. Small changes. Micro delays. Slight distortions in targeting solutions. Nothing dramatic. Just enough. A Dominion cruiser fired its planetary lance. The beam missed Earth by 12 kilometers. That had never happened before. Inside Horizon Command, alarms shifted again, this time hopeful. General RAO stared at the tactical display. They missed. Ilara allowed herself one breath of relief. Keep watching. Above Earth, the Dominion fleet began firing in coordinated patterns. But their precision was fading. Their weapons relied on perfect prediction. Humans specialized in imperfection. In Nepal, Thomas manually adjusted a fusion array that fed power into Archive Black's global network. Energy output rising. We can sustain interference for another 40 minutes. Lyra's face appeared on his screen. We don't need 40. What are you thinking? Thomas asked. Lyra's eyes sharpened. They believe we're corrupting their systems externally. We are. Yes, she said softly. But we're about to do something worse. Back on the Dominion flagship, the High Executor observed growing anomalies. Deploy planetary sterilization drones, it ordered. Thousands of sleek black objects detached from the fleet and began descending toward Earth's atmosphere. Each drone carried enough energy to level a city. In Horizon Command, fear returned instantly. Ilara's voice trembled slightly. Can Archive Black stop that? Before General RAO could answer, Lyra's signal broke into the command center display. Her voice was calm. Tell your people to stay indoors. RAO blinked. What are you going to do? Lyra smiled faintly. Teach them something new. As the Dominion drones entered the upper atmosphere, they activated atmospheric correction protocols to compensate for wind, pressure, and planetary rotation. Human satellites, newly awakened, began broadcasting modified atmospheric data. The drones adjusted. And adjusted again. And again. The data kept changing. Jet streams appeared where none existed. Magnetic fluctuations spiked. Gravity readings shifted by fractional percentages. The drone's internal processors strained to compensate. They were designed for stable environments. Earth was no longer stable. Within minutes, hundreds of drones began colliding mid-air. Others miscalculated descent angles and burned up in the atmosphere. Some detonated harmlessly over oceans. On the Dominion flagship, silence fell. Explain, the High Executor demanded. Planetary environmental data fluctuating beyond natural models, an officer replied. Human interference suspected. The High Executor studied Earth on its display. For the first time in centuries, it felt something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. Inside Archive Black's Antarctic chamber, Lyra finally leaned back. Dominion technology depends on control, she explained to her team. Perfect order. Predictable systems. Soren nodded. And we are chaos. Not chaos, Mila corrected. Creativity. Lyra smiled. Exactly. But the Dominion were not rulers of the galaxy by accident. The High Executor issued a new command. All ships disengage predictive targeting. Switch to autonomous independent command logic. The fleet began separating into smaller clusters. Human interference had exploited unity. Now the Dominion would fight as individuals. Thousands of ships rotated, powering new weapons. Massive gravitational cannons began charging. Thomas saw it instantly. They're about to brute force it. Lyra's jaw tightened. That will work. For the first time since activation, Archive Black faced something they could not rewrite. Raw energy. Raw destruction. General Rao's voice broke over the channel. They're charging Planet Killer class weapons. Ilara whispered, "How long?" 3 minutes. Silence filled every Archive Black facility. 3 minutes was not enough time to invent a new technology. But it was enough time for humans to do something else. Lyra's eyes widened. Wait. She turned to the global network. Open every civilian channel. Thomas hesitated. What? Do it. Across Earth, every phone, screen, tablet, and public display activated. Billions of humans looked up. Lyra appeared. Her voice was simple. We cannot outgun them. But we can outthink them. I need every engineer, gamer, mathematician, pilot, coder, mechanic, anyone who has ever solved a problem in a strange way, to connect now. For a brief second, nothing happened. Then everything happened. Amateur radio operators connected. University servers opened. Teenagers who built drones in garages uploaded code. Retired scientists accessed forgotten research files. Gamers began modeling Dominion ship behavior using strategy simulations. The planet became one mind. Thomas stared at the data flood. This is insane. Lyra nodded. Yes. And beautiful. Billions of unpredictable human perspectives began feeding Archive Black's core models. Dominion ships were no longer facing 50,000 enhanced minds. They were facing humanity. In all its messy brilliance. Patterns emerged the Dominion had not predicted. Tiny timing windows in their cannon charge cycles. Micro-delays between cluster synchronization. Lyra saw it. There. Soren confirmed. If we inject interference at that exact millisecond. Mila finished. Their cannons will amplify internal resonance. General Rao watched in disbelief. You're saying their own weapons? Yes, Lyra said calmly. Will break themselves. Above Earth, Dominion Planet Killer cannons fired. At the same instant, billions of human-generated microsignals pulsed through modified relay satellites. The resonance hit. For a split second, the cannon's energy fields destabilized. Then 3 Dominion capital ships exploded from within. Not massive explosions, but catastrophic internal failures. Across the fleet, dozens more weapon systems overloaded. The attack stopped. On the flagship, alarms screamed. The High Executor stared at the burning wreckage of its own vessels. Analysis. Human adaptive intelligence exceeds previous projections, an officer answered quietly. They are not responding as a unified species. They are responding as individuals. The High Executor processed this. A species that could unite without uniformity. That could weaponize imagination. That could turn extinction into collaboration. For the first time in its existence, the Dominion reconsidered. Above Earth, the fleet's formation loosened. Archive Black watched carefully. Lyra spoke softly. They are thinking. Ilara whispered in Horizon Command. Are we winning? Lyra's eyes stayed fixed on the stars. No. She smiled slightly. We're teaching. And the lesson was only halfway finished. The Dominion fleet stopped firing. For 12 long seconds, nothing moved in Earth's orbit. No cannons charged. No drones descended. No commands echoed across alien channels. 10,000 warships. Waiting. Inside Horizon Command, nobody breathed. General Arjun Rao stared at the tactical display. Why aren't they finishing this? Dr. Ilara Mendez didn't answer. Because she understood something important. Predators attack when victory is certain. They pause when something feels wrong. On the Dominion flagship, the High Executor studied Earth again. This species was not behaving correctly. They had no unified military strength. No superior weapons. No technological dominance. And yet, they adapted faster than projected. They cooperated without centralized command. They weaponized unpredictability. Recalculate extinction outcome, the High Executor ordered. A moment later, the result appeared. Probability of complete human eradication, 87%. That number should have been acceptable. But something had shifted. Projected long-term risk if humans survive, 94%. The High Executor processed this carefully. If extermination failed, humanity would remember. And they would evolve. Deep beneath Antarctica, Lyra Cade stood at the center of Archive Black's command chamber. Billions of civilian data streams still flowed through the network. Thomas wiped sweat from his forehead. They're pulling back slightly. Not retreating. Just repositioning. Soren analyzed fleet movement. They're scanning for deeper interference layers. Mila looked up. They're afraid of hidden variables. Lyra nodded slowly. They should be. But she also knew the truth. Humanity had bought time. Not victory. The Dominion still had overwhelming firepower. If they resumed full-scale bombardment without relying on synchronized systems, Earth would burn. So Lyra did something unexpected. She opened a direct communication channel. To the Dominion flagship. General RAO gasped when the signal appeared on Horizon Command screen. You're contacting them. Lyra's voice remained calm. Yes. The channel connected. The silver form of the High Executor appeared again. You continue resistance, it said evenly. Lyra looked directly at it. Yes. You cannot win. She tilted her head slightly. We don't need to win. The alien paused. Clarify. Lyra gestured, and behind her appeared a live feed of Earth. Cities. Villages. People working together. Engineers in garages. Children coding. Farmers repurposing machinery into communication relays. You calculated our military, Lyra said. You calculated our fleet. You calculated our weapons. She leaned forward slightly. But you did not calculate our curiosity. The High Executor remained silent. Lyra continued. You believe dominance creates order. That eliminating variables stabilizes the galaxy. She allowed a small smile. But humans are the opposite of stability. Behind her, Thomas uploaded a projection into the shared channel. It showed human expansion over the past century. From one planet to dozens of colonies. From basic space travel to quantum communication. From division to global unity under threat. We evolve fastest under pressure, Lyra said quietly. The more you push us, the faster we change. The High Executor processed her words. This is a threat. No, Lyra replied. It's an invitation. General RAO blinked in confusion. Lyra continued. You called us volatile. Unpredictable. Dangerous. She nodded once. You're right. The alien fleet sensors continued scanning Earth. Lyra's final words carried calm certainty. If you exterminate us, you remove one unstable species. If you allow us to grow, you gain the most creative ally the galaxy has ever seen. Silence filled both sides. In cities across Earth, people watched the transmission. Families huddled around screens. Scientists stood frozen in laboratories. Children stared wide-eyed. Humanity was not begging anymore. It was negotiating. The High Executor spoke slowly. You propose cooperation. Yes. You have demonstrated disruptive capacity. Yes. You could destabilize Dominion rule long-term. Lyra did not hesitate. Yes. The alien silver form shifted slightly. Why should the Dominion preserve a future threat? Lyra's eyes softened. Because one day, something stronger than you will arrive. That sentence echoed through the flagship. Every Dominion officer went still. Lyra continued. You have ruled for 12,000 years. That means you have enemies. Unknown regions. Unexplored anomalies. She leaned closer to the camera. When that day comes, you will need someone who thinks differently. The High Executor's internal simulations ran at maximum speed. Humans were dangerous. But they were also adaptive. They solved problems no structured civilization could. Elimination would remove risk. Preservation would introduce controlled unpredictability. For the first time in Dominion history, extermination logic conflicted with expansion logic. Seconds felt like hours. Finally, the High Executor spoke. Conditional suspension of extinction protocol. In Horizon Command, people gasped. Lyra did not react. Conditions, she asked calmly. Human expansion will be monitored. Technological exchange will occur under Dominion oversight. Military growth restricted. Lyra considered it. Then she shook her head. No. General Rao nearly choked. But Lyra continued. We agree to monitored expansion. We agree to knowledge exchange. But we will not restrict growth. The High Executor's tone sharpened. Non-compliance triggers immediate annihilation. Lyra smiled gently. You already tried that. Silence. Then something incredible happened. Across Dominion external sensors, new signals appeared. Hundreds of them. Alien vessels from other civilizations. Species that had ignored humanity's distress calls. They had been watching. And now they had data. They had seen the Dominion struggle. They had seen humans disrupt the most powerful fleet in the region. A new calculation formed across the galaxy. Humans were not prey. They were leverage. The High Executor detected the incoming fleets. Its internal models shifted again. If the Dominion continued extermination, it risked wider conflict. If it preserved humanity, it maintained influence. The High Executor looked at Lyra. Revised proposal. Cooperative alliance. Shared research initiatives. Mutual defense pact. Lyra finally allowed herself to breathe. Accepted. Above Earth, the Dominion fleet slowly withdrew from full orbital lockdown. Ships repositioned to neutral stances. Planet-killer weapons powered down. In cities around the world, cheers erupted. People cried. Hugged. Collapsed in relief. Inside Archive Black, 50,000 minds disconnected from emergency synchronization. Lyra closed her eyes. They had not won with weapons. They had not begged for rescue. They had forced the most powerful empire in their region to think. Weeks later, as Dominion research vessels docked peacefully with human stations, the galaxy began to change. Human engineers collaborated with alien physicists. Artists shared culture across species. Students from distant systems applied to study on Earth. Human unpredictability became valued, not feared. General Rao stood beside Ilara in Horizon Command, watching new ships arrive, not as invaders, but as visitors. We almost unleashed monsters, he said quietly. Ilara shook her head. No. She smiled faintly. We unleashed ourselves. Across the stars, whispers spread. About a species that turned extinction into evolution. About a world that fought not with rage, but with imagination. And far beyond Dominion space, in regions even they had not mapped, something ancient observed humanity's signal burst. And adjusted its trajectory. Because when humans survive the impossible, they don't just live. They grow. And this was only the first chapter. The galaxy had finally answered. But it had no idea what it had just invited.